Hey, what is going on, everybody? Boilon here, back for another video on Marvel Strike Force, and in today's video, we're going to be doing a bit of a part two, so to speak, of what I did yesterday, which was talking about Battleworld, because if you followed that video, then I mentioned that there is a whole slew of data files that are available that tell us a lot of things that, well, really aren't really known to the public, and we're going to be talking about Spec Ops. We're going to be talking about all the characters that are mentioned in the data file. Pretty much everyone is now known that you need for every single zone in Battle World and what characters these are. We're going to be breaking it down from Zone 1 to Zone 5, all the characters that you need or will need to use in Battle World if you want to min-max the best that you possibly can. So if you're ready to go, everybody, let's boil this down. Now, I wanted to start by doing a little bit of a recap. A lot of people might be wondering, the Battle World's complex. There's a lot of there's a couple of things to it, and so I want to start off with this first picture here. So there are going to be zones. They're days, right? Day 1 through 5, and each zone has 5 different combat missions. And within those combat missions, you can see on the screen here, there are bonus or mod teams or traits that can be used in this. So within City and within Cosmic and within Spider-Verse, there are specific teams that are designed to be used in these missions to make it easier. Now, these characters are also going to be used in the Spec Ops. Now, Spec Ops there's a total of, this is going to be some math here, there's a total of 240 submittable characters. Now, that's because there are 24 Alliance members, and you can submit 10 characters each for a total of 240. Each of these zones, these Spec Ops zones, have 30 character submissions. So that's 8 of them times 30 is again that 240. Now, within each of these hexes are 6 characters of which you can submit 5 times. Okay, so hopefully I haven't lost anyone, okay? So Spec Ops 1 will have 6 characters, and we're going to go over these characters as well. And then of your entire alliance, 5 of each of those 6 characters can be submitted to fill 30. And then you do this. There's a total of 48 characters per zone, and every zone has a different unique set of characters. Those are static week to week. Zone 1 is always going to be Zone 1, and Zone 2 is always going to be Zone 2. Those are static. But each zone do have a different set of characters, which we are going to talk about. Now, why do you want to do Spec Ops at all? It is a little bit of a min-maxing sort of thing. And what do I mean by that? I mean that it's going to be related to your VPs or victory points that you're going to get for the week, but it's also going to be related to your season leaderboard. So it is something that competitive alliances are going to want to have to, engage in. But do casual alliances have to engage in this? Not necessarily, because that's why you have your battle missions. You can solely go from day 1 to day 2 to day 3, etc., just by clearing the battle missions. So that's fine. If your roster is only big enough so that you can do things like the combat missions, that's totally okay. Where you're going to pick up extra VPs for the day or for the week is going to be coming from Spec Ops, and that's why I want to cover that in today's video. So I've made an entire chart for this, but what I'm going to be doing is we're also going to be taking a look at my my PowerPoint here, which tells you all the combat missions for each zone, and we're going to be covering this one at a time. So Zone 1, as you saw in the photo, is City, Cosmic, Spider-Verse, Cosmic, and then Astral or Pegasus. The Mission 5 is not related to Spec Ops, so you'll never have to choose between Astral or Pegasus in your Spec Ops. However, if you notice in here, there's also Superior 6, Annihilators, Spider Society, and Bifrost. Some of these characters are related to Spec Ops, where you'll have to make a conscious decision if you're going to send your Superior 6 onto Spec Ops and use an alternative team to clear those missions. Now, I'm going to be working with Big Positive Geek to create an infographic that makes this a little bit easier to digest after this video and closer to Battle World's release, because basically if you want to send your Superior 6 onto Spec Ops, then like I said, you're going to have to come up with an additional city team or an alternative city team that you can use to clear that same battle mission. So let's just jump into the table here, because there's 8 different hexes or 8 different SOs, Spec Ops zones, with 6 different characters each. The requirements also vary depending on which one it is. It's scale, as far as I'm aware, it goes from easier difficulty, the requirements, to a higher difficulty going up. And I want to, before we jump into the characters, I do want to start with those difficulty, the requirements. Sorry. So SO1 has a requirement of 3 yellow. SO2 has a requirement of 5 yellow. SO3 has a requirement of 7 yellow. 4. Now this is where I'm not 100% sure, and this could be subject to change because I can only, see what's in the files. I honestly believe that it's a scaling difficulty. I think that, we're going to go on from SO3 to SO4 and we're going to see 7 yellow gear tier 15. However, in the data files it does suggest that you only need gear tier 15. And the reason why I think it is scaling though is because once we start to look at some of the characters, it almost seems a bit weird that it's not, including the ones from the previous SOs as well. So that's why I have it in brackets, because I don't know if it is. It could just be gear tier 15 for these characters, or maybe it is 7 yellow gear tier 15. And so, for example, for SO5, it could then be 7 yellow gear tier 17. So gear 17 is the main requirement for SO5. SO6 is 6 red. That is the main requirement here for SO6. But it could also be 7 yellow, 6 red, gear 17 if it scales from the previous one. And then finally we have, no, there's 2 more. SO7, which my head's blocking, there we go. 7 yellow, 6 red, gear tier 19. Gear tier 19 is the main requirement for SO7. Again, could be the previous ones as well. And then finally we have SO8 over here. This is the last one. And it's 1 diamond. So that's what it was listed. It used to be 2 diamond, now it's 1 diamond. The reason why though, however, 1 diamond does imply that you also have 7 yellow. Because, you have to have a 7 yellow, 7 red to get a 1 diamond, if that makes sense. So actually, even though it's not it may or may not be scaling, you kind of need the 7 yellow to activate the 1 diamond. So at least that is set in stone. But do you need the gear tier 19 on top of that as well? I'm not entirely sure. I think that it might be. And the reason why is because I think it's going to encourage Whale and Kraken alliances to upgrade some of these characters that are in these SOs or Spec Ops zones in order to actually get the points for it to do a 100% completion. That's kind of why I think it's scaling, but we won't know for sure until they actually come out and tell us the rules 100%. So that could be subject to change. So I do want to cover some of these, and the ones that you're seeing that are highlighted in orange, those are the ones that are also usable in the combat missions. So and ones that are in red are ones that I'm kind of flagging just to kind of, it might be tough for like some players. Old Man Logan, for example, isn't permanently available. So if you missed him, you're not going to be able to do this. But you can see, I'm not going to go over every single character, but you can kind of see them here as we go across the screen. A lot of them are going to be meta characters from essentially Superior 6 onwards. So about a year ago, with a few exceptions like Quicksilver, Vol, and any of the reworked characters from the new teams that were obviously released beforehand. But they're more relevant to the teams that are Superior 6 onwards. Zombie Iron Man's also in here as well. The Undying team is in here. So you can see as we scroll across the side here, nothing too crazy. If they're not highlighted, that means you're perfectly okay to send those characters out, and it's not going to impact your missions in the combat. So that's fine there. We do have, again, Spider-Man Pavitra. We have Gore, Doc Ock, Nova. I highlighted that just because the requirement is 6 red for this SO6. That might not be something that a lot of people have. He's Dark Promotion character, Dark Promotion credits, and I don't think I have even 6 red, so that would be an issue for me. And then all the other orange ones that you can see over here are also going to be characters that you can use for the combat missions. Annihilators, Superior 6, Spider Society in there as well. Green Goblin Classic. These are gear tier 19 over here now, and they're asking Big Time Spidey. That's a that's a pretty interesting one that some people might not necessarily have. And then when we get over to the 1 diamond, that means you also have a 7 yellow, right? So they're asking for a Gladiator. That's probably the biggest one there in Zone 1. It gets worse as we go through. So Zone number 2, we have Captain Britain, but this is at SO1, which is only 3 yellow, which now we're starting to have them a little bit more available. So maybe this isn't a huge deal, but I did highlight it because Illuminati is also in the Zone 2 section. So moving on to Zone 2, we have Mercs for Money. Mission 1, we have Cabal. Mission 2, Undying. Mission 3, and Alpha Flight in Mission 4. And then again, Mission 5 is not included in the Spec Ops. Actually, we don't have Illuminati in Zone 2. I think I highlighted just because it's Captain Britain. That's probably why I did that. So, and then we can see Thanos Endgame, Gore. Again, these are things that are kind of safe to send out because it's not really going to impact your combat missions as we scroll across. It's fine. SO2 is fine. It might be less fine because you need like 5 yellow, so maybe you don't have 5 yellow in Gladiator and things like that. A 7 yellow over here, that's largely fine as well. Zone 2 SO3, and then going back to SO4, Gear Tier 15, Zombie Juggernaut, Omega Sentinel, North Star Dock, and these are all, again, characters for the combat missions. The red ones are just maybe, if it is 7 yellow Gear Tier 15, this could be a problem for some of these characters, right? Namely Zombie Jugs and Omega Sentinel. And then we have 7 yellow Gear Tier, maybe 7 yellow Gear Tier 17. We have Ares is in there. So yeah, Ares is another character. While he's not in the combat missions, is a character that you're going to need to build up for this if you want to get additional points for this. There is Sentinel. Again, if that 7 yellow is a thing, then that might be a little bit of a concern there. And then we have Zombie Iron Man over here at 6 red. SO6 is 6 red at a bare minimum. So that's Zombie Iron Man, which is probably going to be a problem because he's a dark promotion credit character. And I think this is really going to encourage people to spend and buy RTA passes. I'm not saying that that's what you should go and do. I just think that because a lot of the DPC characters are also included in Spec Ops, that can end up being a bit of a problem. And then we have SO6 down here, which is Gear Tier 19, Apocalypse, Old Man Logan, Nimrod, Sasquatch Leader, and Gambit. Not a huge deal. And then the 1 diamond. This is kind of interesting, but I don't think this one's a big deal because those are all farmable characters now at this point. So Zone 2 is actually not that bad. Zone 3, now let's talk about the combat missions for that over here. It's Annihilators, Illuminati, Out of Time, and then Spider Society or Superior 6. So it's your choice to do that. You also get combat mods for both raids and CC. So basically each mission has specific game modes activated, which help you do those missions. Over here at 5 yellow, we have Old Man Logan. So again, if you don't have him unlocked, I guess that's a problem. A Sentinel 5 yellow, that could be a little bit of a problem. 7 yellow, not that big of a problem here on zone number 3. And then we have SO4, which is the Gear Tier 15, maybe 7 yellow, we don't really know. Not that big of an issue even still, though. There is, even Quicksilver's not really a big deal. Gear Tier 17 over here. Captain Britain, I suppose, he's showing up again. Over there, Big Time Spidey could be a small problem because again, not a lot of people build him now. So this is kind of like a product of like veteran rosters, that kind of thing. Captain Carter is there at Gear Tier 17, and then we have 6 red. This one's interesting. Super Skrull. Okay, because I do have 6 red on Super Skrull, but not everyone does. Black Bolt, Ares, that might be a small problem because having 6 red also implies that you have a 6 yellow, right? So this means 6 yellow and 6 red. So in this case, I do not have Ares at 6 yellow. I have him at 4 from free to play. The other characters, not really that big of a deal. So to complete the SOs, there sometimes is like 1 or 2 characters that are kind of iffy in there. And then if we go over back to the Gear Tier 19 down here, we have Mephisto. Now my only big issue, Mephisto over here. My only big issue with this is that if it does contain the requirements from the previous SOs, then it's 7 yellow, 6 red, Gear Tier 19 Mephisto, which suggests, because we don't have 6 red Mephisto, I don't know if that, either this is saying that this is not the case, or it's future-proofing it, and there is going to be like a Mephisto leaderboard, and there are going to ways to get Mephisto red stars while Battleworld is out. So it could go either way there. There is a Nova there as well, so again, if these are the same requirements, you're going to have to get red stars for Nova maybe. Black Knight as well is in here, so that kind of sucks. And then we have 1 diamond. Specifically, this is going to be 7 yellow, 1 diamond on Apocalypse, on Thanos Endgame. Characters that are not farmable. Well, Thanos is not farmable, and Apocalypse means that you would have to get 1 diamond, which a lot of veterans do have, but mid gamers, wouldn't really have this. Captain America, they want you to have 1 diamond on him as well. So again, some interesting characters. Zone number 4. This is where we start getting into some of the, quite newer characters. We have Man-Thing, Oath, Blade. 3 yellow required in order to submit those characters. Now, these are not required to use for the combat missions for Zone 4, but they do show up in Zone 5. So Zone 4 is Alpha Flight, Extreme X-Men, Mercs for Money, and MSF Original, but also does contain the Horseman characters and Apocalypse, so do keep that in mind as well. We have a lot of the newer characters in here. We have Captain Britain showing up at 5 yellow for Spec Ops. That one's kind of interesting. We have a lot of newer characters. Omega Sentinel, Nimrod, Thanos Endgame, all required at 5 yellow. And then over here at 7 yellow, we have Hank Pym, Black Panther, Shuri. Again, not farmable, but should be pretty soon, though. Probably by the time Battleworld goes out, honestly. And then Zone SO4, we have Zombie Scarlet Witch, so gear tier 15. Could be 7 yellow, maybe, maybe not. So that would be pretty interesting, and definitely whale and kraken bait if that's the case as well. And once again, all the oranges are just overlaps from some of the characters that you can use. In the combat mission, we have gear tier 17 on Zombie Juggernaut over here. So again, a character that you maybe haven't built, because I know a lot of people might not have. And then we have Odin over here at 6 red. This one's particularly interesting because if you didn't actually get this from the 30-day milestone, you can't submit Odin on this Spec Ops, at least until they make the red stars available for purchase on Dark Promotions, and I think that's going to be some time. So definitely future-proofing some stuff here as well. And then we do have Red Hulk. You might not have a 6 red on Red Hulk. Old Man Logan. These are all DPC characters, honestly. So this could be a bit of an issue for some. And then we have Spec Ops 7 down here with Super Skrull. So once again, it could be 7 yellow, 6 red, but otherwise the base requirement is at least G19, right? Which is not a huge deal for Skrull, probably. Gore, Gwenom Forge, Deathpool Wolverine, and then the 7 yellow, 1 diamond over here as Zombie Iron Man. So that's for sure happening. Zombie Iron Man, I do not have anything above 4 red on him, so I would not be able to do things like that. That's probably the worst one over here at SO8. Yeah, I think that is the worst one there. And then finally, we have Zone 5. As far as the combat missions go, we do have Hive Mind as the bonus ones, Illuminati again, Orcus, and Night Stalkers here for Zone 5. So as far as the characters go, we have Zombie Scarlet Witch here at 3 yellow at SO1, which means that you need to at least, actually it's not even just an unlock, right? You have to have her at 3-star. She is the newest character in Spec Ops, so it goes all the way up to Zombie Scarlet Witch. It does not include the astral characters mentioned in here at all, probably because you are meant to use them in the combat missions every single day, so it would be kind of weird if they ask you to then chuck them into Spec Ops. Gladiator, that's not a big deal, actually, but he is, because Annihilators are on Zone 5, that's why they're highlighted there, of course. There is a Zombie Iron Man here, that's fine at 5 yellow, that's okay, actually. Ares, this could be a small issue. I highlighted that because free-to-play only have, like, 4-star Ares. Thanos Endgame over here at 7 yellow at SO3. Same with Zombie Juggernaut, who isn't really available either, so that could be a big issue. And Old Man Logan, who you may or may not have at 7 yellow. For SO4, Zone 5, we do have Man-Thing. Again, this could be problematic mainly if that 7 yellow becomes a requirement for anything above SO3. And then other than that, we do have SO5 over here. We do have Oath. So again, if that 7 yellow is a requirement there. Quicksilver? So I don't actually have a lot of stars on my Quicksilver or gear at all, for that matter, on my alt account. I do on my veteran, on my main account, sorry, but that's just because it's a product of my my large roster. 6 red over here, which would be 6 yellow, 6 red. Green Goblin Classic, Captain Britain, that's a big one there, right? 6 yellow, 6 red is a pretty big ask. Sentinel is also potentially a pretty big ask over there as well. So you can see a lot of the newer characters. And then finally, we have SO7 over here with Blade at gear tier 19. Could be 7 yellow, 6 red. Omega Sentinel, that's a pretty big one there as well. And then SO8 over here, actually, it's not that bad. But there is a Moon Knight. So if it is a 7 yellow, 1 diamond, gear tier 19 Moon Knight altogether, some people didn't necessarily build. I know for sure I don't have a gear 19 Moon Knight. I also don't have a gear 19 Carnage. So some of these could be problematic if all of the requirements are together. I guess it's just that, like, the reason why I think that's the case is because if it's just 1 diamond, or in this case 7 yellow, 1 diamond, and it's not asking you to level up your gear, you could submit a level 1 character. And that to me sounds a bit weird and a bit off, because it doesn't encourage, I guess, building these characters up. It doesn't encourage any of that at all. Now, granted, SO1 to 3 does not require any gear. And I think that's because the early ones are meant to be easier. And that's why I think it's supposed to be scaling up to be harder from then onwards, requiring gear tier 15, gear tier 17, so on and so forth. So that's why I think it scales up together. That's just my personal thoughts here, because that's going to make it not necessarily more engaging, but it's going to make it more challenging to min-max 100% clear the Spec Ops. That's just my thoughts anyways. That's Spec Ops once again. Hopefully in the beginning you kind of understood the explanation of, the total amount of characters that are up for grabs here. Once again, there's going to be, as we saw, 6 different characters in each of these Spec Ops hexes. You can send 5 of each of those characters, so 6 Zombie Iron Mans, 6 Captain Britons, etc. Sorry, I meant to say 5. 5 of those characters 6 times, right, for each of the 6 characters to fill up those 30 in each of the hexes, and then you can get as many as you possibly can, and you'll get more victory points every day as a result of that for your entire alliance. There's a lot of stuff here with regards to Battle World, but I, tried my best to do my explanations here and also share some of the characters that you're going to be having to use both in the combat missions and Spec Ops and Battle World. It's a lot of characters, to be honest. Like, you don't necessarily need all of these to, get to Null and Zone 6. But if you're in a competitive alliance who is going to be trying to push Battle World, who is trying to push for Null Shards, this is something that you're going to need to think about. This is definitely something that your captains and your alliance leaders are going to think about, and something that I would share with them as well, if they're not quite up to date with everything Marvel Strike Force and Battle World, because tons of stuff here. So again, hope that helped. That's going to be the end of the video, everyone. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. And until next time, stay safe and healthy, and I'll see you all later. Boilon, signing out.